cops decided it was a good idea to handcuff a 9-year-old child experiencing a mental health issue. So here's what I want to do. We're talking about Massachusetts. Put up the picture full mass here. So Massachusetts, they have a school district called Walpole. And the police department in this district, they have now come under fire for calling multiple officers to a classroom to respond to a 9-year-old Black student's health crisis, mental health crisis. Police decided, well, let's go ahead and handcuff him to a pole to restrain him before taking him to a local hospital where authorities held him in adult custody. He's 9 years old. The lawyers for civil rights alongside Anderson Krieger LLC law firm wrote a letter to both the school system and the police department demanding the district take action and implement wide-ranging reform. There should be a policy against this. The letter recounts the incident that happened on January 12th. A third grade student with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, and delayed intelligence became dysregulated while in his elementary school class, according to both groups. The student's individualized education plan has procedures in place to apply positive reinforcement that will help regulate his behavior. Instead of implementing those measures, the staff called the school resource officer, who then called in backup from the Walpole Police Department. 2 cops arrived and forcibly handcuffed the child and restrained his arms and his legs. At that point, he was taken to a nearby hospital and held in custody where he was unable to reach his mother until he was discharged and treated him like an adult criminal, and he was neither. Put up the picture, Erica Richmond. Ms. Richmond, an attorney with the Lawyers for Civil Rights, stated, and I quote, "The actions taken by Walpole Public Schools and the police department against this 9-year-old boy were egregious, age inappropriate, and directly contradicted the school's own guidance for regulating his behavior." Now, I do have more information, but I want to say this about the individualized study or education plan. This is something pretty common in educational systems throughout the country, where you have a structured and agreed to plan. Typically, this plan is created by parent, administrator, and faculty, okay? And you follow this protocol. Well, this protocol can also be regulated by the federal government. It gives them authority because you're dealing with an individual who has a stated disability. So that brings the federal government oversight in potentially. My point is, for those who are reviewing this case, for the lawyers that are involved, just remember that as you move forward. There's more. She said, the incident exemplifies the adultification of Black children. We've talked about that on this show. This is a form of discrimination where Black children are perceived and treated as older than they are. And WPS staff did frequently describe the child as big for his age, end quote, and stronger than he looks. The letter both groups wrote also cites this case as an example of the over-policing of Black school children, which, by the way, leads to the school to prison pipeline, because we're treating our children like criminals, especially those who happen to be Black or brown or from poor communities in general. A legal memorandum of understanding, Massachusetts schools, addresses the powers of school resource officers. It states, and I quote, school staff shall not ask SRO to serve as a school disciplinarian or enforcer of school regulation. Additionally, the document states the school resource officers should not use, and I quote, use police powers to address traditional school discipline issues, including nonviolent disruptive behavior. However, for issues of safety, the school can request an SRO who may act to de-escalate the immediate situation where feasible and to protect the physical safety of members of the school community. So they said something without saying anything, right? So they basically presented what the statute and the policy says without giving us their understanding and context of what happened. Naturally, you don't call the police on a 9-year-old who's simply having an upset moment, not harming anybody. This was insane. We're gonna follow it as it develops. Jeff, thoughts?
Well, again, this child has attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, and delayed intelligence. This will only make these conditions worse moving forward. That's kind of how things are when it comes to law enforcement from time to time, which, by the way, law enforcement, they're often trained as warrior cops. So you send in a warrior cop who has weapons, who has defense techniques being trained upon them, who has armor, and who has backup, and they were unable to properly contend with this child's behavior. This is an awful situation.
Yeah. What happened to calling the parent? Remember, parents were not alerted until he was discharged from the hospital. All right, that's according to the report.